Warami me to get budger in a wunya. You're going to Awabakal Ngurrawa. Hello friend, good to see you. Today I'm on Awabakal country. If you watched last week's video, well, that was an absolute ripper time. I'm spewing Matt and I only had one day to get out there and really explore, but it was such a bloody good time. The Padge handled all those tracks absolutely amazingly. Really blows me away just how capable these cars are. But part of the reason for that trip was to do a shakedown, as I said. So, look, shakedown, she handled well. Car always does. There's never a doubt on that. But how did the paint hold up? How did the 12-volt system hold up? How did everything else hold up in the build that I've recently done? That's what I'm going to talk to you guys about today, is how everything has stacked up since doing the rebuild. So, first thing I've got to do is get the bloody thing emptied, and then I think we'll give it a wash, eh? What do you reckon? Alright, stick with us guys, let's get it done.
I don't really know what comes next. I'm just doing my best, even though I'm so stressed out. Everything just feels like a test that I fail, so depressed when I can't seem to get out. But something deep inside won't let me quit. I swear that I'm inspired by all this shit. Tell me that I can and I won't. That's what guides me the most. Fuck your lies, I'll do what I want. The gas in the back of the set, never leave. She's so bad that you can't hit the brake. The gas in the back of the set, never leave. She's so bad that you can't hit the brake. The gas in the back of the set, never leave. She's so bad that you can't hit the brake. The gas in the back of the set, never leave. She's so bad that you can't hit the brake. I'm inspired by thirst, I'm inspired by worth. I desire your worst, so you can just hide while I work. I ain't tired, you first. I'll write a second, third verse about the lies you go disperse. You never did shit, I know it hurts. Something deep inside won't let me quit. I swear that I'm inspired by all this shit. Tell me that I can and I won't. That's what guides me the most. Fuck your lies, I'll do what I want. The gas in the back of the set, never leave. She's so bad that you can't hit the brake. The gas in the back of the set, never leave. She's so bad that you can't hit the brake. The gas in the back of the set, never leave. She's so bad that you can't hit the brake. The gas in the back of the set, never leave. She's so bad that you can't hit the brake.
Well guys, I didn't get filming finished yesterday. We're in the process of looking for another rental, so I had a couple of housing inspections to do and things like that, and just didn't get a chance to finish the filming. So we'll get into that now. First thing I'm going to do is give you guys a look at the bash plates, because they're one thing that I was very curious to see how they were going to hold up. So let's get under the car and check them out. Oh, this is a position I hate being. Alrighty, so as you saw in the build video, I bought myself a set of Bushkin's 3mm stainless steel bash plates, and I painted them in Predator. So, although they didn't cop a lot of a beating over the weekend, they did cop one really hard hit, and Matt even said himself that he could hear that from his car. So, let's see how that all stacked up. Okay, so with the Predator, you can see that there are a couple of marks here. That was, as I said, a very hard hit. And I lost a screw out of the bash plate there, so I'm going to have to try and find another one of them. But look, guys, at the end of the day, the bash plates did cop quite a hiding on one particular right there. And yes, they do show some marks, and the Predator does show some marks from it. There is also, I believe, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but just here, there appears to be a bit of a slight bend in the sump plate. So hopefully once that all gets put back together and I get the bolt for it, that'll all be good and she'll go back into place. But look, they're not smashed up, they're not really bashed up. Yes, there's some wear and tear from them, but to be honest, with the hit that they did cop, one in particular, I'm surprised it's not a lot worse. So overall, I think the Predator held up on here really well. As I said, it was a very hard hit. Matt could hear it from his car quite easily. So Predator on the bash plates held up pretty darn good. Yeah, there are some marks. So overall, I think the bash plate held up pretty well. Look, it was quite a hard hit that they copped, and there's only a few little marks out of the paintwork, and there's a slight bend, I think, in the plate itself. So overall, I think they've held up really well. Let's check out the rest of the car and see what sort of damage we caught from all the sticks and scratches and bloody everything else. Alrighty, so coming up the side, obviously the whole vehicle's been painted in Predator. Has that all held up? Well, I can't see a mark in the paint whatsoever. I cannot see a mark in the paint. After washing it, absolutely brilliant. It's cleaned up really nicely. I won't say the paint's necessarily easier to clean up, because it does have that texture, and that, you know, you might need to scrub a little bit harder in some spots to get really stuck on dirt and that out of it. But generally, dirt and dust and stuff like that hoses straight off it. If it's still moist, wet mud or whatever, it will hose straight off. Bird shit, I cop a lot of that, and it hoses pretty well straight off, which is great. So yeah, can't see a single mark anywhere along the side of the car in the Predator, but in these new weather shields that I bought, as for any plastic, you can see scratches everywhere, especially from the inside of them. So, but the paint, the sticks and scrapes and scratches and that were coming up the side of this car, the paint's handled really, really well. I'm absolutely stoked with how the paintwork's held up. So Predator has done bloody wonders. I will say though, to BC Coatings, who's the company that actually manufacture Predator, Wishart Paint Solutions, just their distributor. They're the ones that are supporting me with the product, but BC Coatings are the actual manufacturers. Guys, do us a favour, follow in the footsteps of Raptor and get some aerosol cans happening. So those little scratches and that underneath the car, for example, if I get them on the bull bar or whatever it might be, I can just hit them with a rattle can. So guys, if you see this, please get some aerosols going so we can do touch-ups. Scratches happen. It's going to happen. Alrighty, what about the roof lights? Well, you saw in last week's video, Matt and I sitting at camp there, and I had these on for a little bit. And you know what? They threw enough light around camp. They weren't massively bright, but there was more than enough light around camp with these little lights going, and they used basically bugger all power. I am noticing, and this is probably due to heat and cooling and everything else, they've got moisture in them already. The XTM 42-inch light bar on the front as well, same deal. They get water in them in no time. So will they stand the test of time? They're cheap. I think they're actually Vic Off-Road on eBay, but they were pretty cheap. Will they stand the test of time? I don't know, but you know what they say, you get what you pay for. I didn't pay a lot of money for them. So let's jump quickly in the car here and talk about a couple of my favourite things, the stereo and the XRS radio. Okay, so let's start with the Grundig. How did that go? Look, as you can see here, there are a couple of the campgrounds we saved along the way, a couple of waypoints I'm not too sure about, and we managed to record the tracks that we were doing, which, look, that's always a great thing. That's using Gaia GPS. That's why I love the fact that Android Auto will let me use Gaia GPS. One problem I did find with it is putting my phone down here out of the way, I would get a point where it would lose my location. I wasn't able to find GPS and I'd lose location. So by doing that, it was a little bit of a pain in the backside. I'd have to put the phone back up here and find the location again. But for the most part, it worked really well. Had music playing pretty much the whole time as well. One thing I did find, it's a little bit slow and the screen actually gets rather hot. It's not from the sun beating on it because it's very well shaded and protected from glare, and that side of things was really good. Had no issues with glare the whole time. But it did get very hot to touch, and I've noticed that even just general day to day, when you go to touch it after it's been running for a while, it does get hot. Being able to use Gaia GPS with Android Auto as well means I can simply press this button here and it saves a waypoint at my location, and then that will then sync with my phone and computer and everything else. So that's great. And there's other apps as well. I've recently found out that I can use a scanner one to listen to RFS radios and things like that. The XRS 390C, can't fault it whatsoever. It worked brilliantly. Crystal clear conversations with Matt. A few times I had to push the top button here, which I've got programmed to play the last received message. A couple of times I had to press that, played it back, no worries at all. Could hear Matt quite clearly 90% of the time. It was only if I was doing something else and I quite missed him or something like that. The only little bit of a letdown, and this isn't so much an issue with the radio, but I've got the radio set up with all my zones. So if you can see this one here without the flickering, RFS, New South Wales RFS. When I scan through that, which it doesn't seem to want to do right now, all I seem to get is interference. I've got Gosford Dispatch, Blue Mountains Dispatch, things like that in there. All I seem to get is interference, and unfortunately I'm not able to hear what they're saying, and I believe that is because the frequencies that they're on are encrypted, and this radio is not able to decrypt them. So that's a little bit of a letdown. It'd be nice if we could decrypt it all. It's one of the reasons I sort of wanted the XRS, but at the same time, brilliant bloody radio. Absolutely love it. GME, one other thing I might mention to you guys is see if you guys can create your app to work with Android Auto. Because out on a trip, rather than having to have your phone up here or wherever to see where your mates are and that through the XRS system, it'd be nice if you could have it on there. So, GME, maybe one little suggestion. See if you can get the app to work with Android Auto. Alrighty, let's get into the back of the car and talk about how all that went. Alrighty, into the back of the car. Look, obviously, the shelf on the back door always works a treat. It's brilliant, love it. That hasn't changed. So, it's always worked really well before. So it's going to continue to work really well. There's no issues with that. I did find a few times that I've gone to grab the fridge, and I'm used to having it on the left-hand side, on the passenger side of the car. So I've gone to open the fridge and realised, shit, it's not there. It's now on this side. So that will just take me a little bit of time to get used to, having the fridge on the right-hand side instead of the left. Having the main drawer on the slides. The slides are great. They came in really handy, so much easier to use. The drawer is a little bit smaller than what the old one was, and therefore things are a little bit more compact, and it's a little bit more cluttered than what I'd normally have, but still worked a treat. Sit there saying how it works a treat, and now it doesn't want to go back in. That's one of the slides playing up. Well, first time it's done that. Doesn't seem to want to slide back in. Not sure what's causing the problem there, but I'm going to have to, by the look of it, pull the bloody drawer out and have a look at it. Yeah, that's a bitch. Wonder if that's an issue with the slides or what, but I don't know. First time I had no issues with it over the weekend. It worked bloody brilliant, except for it being a touch on the small side. Alrighty, power. Well, obviously the switches down here worked, and that little switch there on the tailgate, that worked bloody brilliantly to light all this up. Alrighty, so it's 6:10. Sun's pretty well gone down. As you can see, the back of the page is pretty black. That little light that I thought was going to be absolute shit, there's like $2.65 for 10 of them. It's that on its own. Absolute brilliant when it comes to cooking and that for it. Everything worked alright here. I am having some issues with the lithium battery not getting over 13.2 volts. Now, when I've run multimeters through things, I've got no major resistance between anything. However, the solar panel input to the body of the car, that does seem to have a bit of resistance. So the solar panel comes into here instead of connecting to the car. But reading voltage from here to here, I'm getting up to about 17 to 19 volts. From here to here coming out, I'm getting 13.2. So I don't know exactly what's going on from there. I can get up to 14 volts going into the lithium. But for some reason it just doesn't seem to want to push that sort of power into it. I'm not 100% sure what's going on. It just drops back to 13.2. So I'm trying to work out if it's got something to do with the battery, the C-Tech, or maybe just a simple fact that the lithium, I'm not getting the proper charging from the solar panel. Maybe that's the issue, it's not getting fully charged up. Not too sure, but I spoke to Red Arc at the 4-wheel drive adventure show. Obviously they're going to tell me to get rid of the CTEC and buy the Red Arc controller, which of course they did. It's not something I want to do because it's a pretty big expense. Not too sure what's going on with that, but look, I had ample power, more than enough power for the weekend. So on this side, obviously we've got the hatch here with all my toolkit and everything like that under there. Because this drawer's sticking out, it's going to be very difficult to get out, so I won't. But that's the thing, I am finding it is, there we go, it is very difficult to get out. And when I had the mattress and stuff like that on there, it was a real nightmare to get to anything under there. So that will need to be redesigned. I'm actually thinking, because I have a 4-inch foam mattress that I sleep on, what I'm actually thinking about doing is raising this up 4 inches, or say there, and making it level with the top of the mattress. Then that way when the mattresses are here packed up, cut the mattress a little bit smaller. When the mattress is here packed up, I sort of have that little bit of an extra shelf there as well, and easy access into there. I also need to put some sort of a handle into here to make it easier to bloody get to. Getting in underneath. Obviously when you've got a load on top, it's going to be heavier and harder. With this drawer being a bugger to me now, it might be a pain, but getting in underneath is still quite easy. And what I'm doing is an old jack handle, because the struts aren't quite strong enough to hold it up. The old jack handle does. So really nice and easy when it comes to getting my compressor out or anything like that I need out of there. And then that just slides back in. And yeah, that's worked a treat. Bed-wise, when I built this system, I made it a little bit higher than the last one, if you recall. And that's because I wanted to have a hard surface over the headrest part of the middle seats. Instead of just having the mattress laid over the middle seats like I normally would have and having it sink in the middle, I wanted to have a hard surface over them. So I cut myself this piece of wood, and that sits in there snug up against the front seats, covers over the two headrests and gives me a nice firm surface. Worked brilliant, no problems, very nice and comfortable. So yeah, that piece of wood made it very nice and comfortable and gave me a nice firm surface. Also means that I can have my head at the front of the car instead of always at the back of the car if that's how I wish to do it. For example, if I pull up at a lookout or something like that and I just want to lay in the back and check out the view or whatever, you know, I can do that. So yeah guys, that's basically it. How's everything held up? Well, yeah, the drawer's just stuffed up on me, which I'm not impressed about. I'll have to have a look at that. The XRS, great. Yes, one suggestion, try and make your app Android Auto compatible. The Grundig, the head unit, again, great. A little bit slow loading the Android Auto, but with the maps it worked really well. Showed me where we needed to go, showed me what I needed to do. Just overall bloody worked great. The only drama I found with it, yeah, the Android Auto is a little bit slow, and the screen does get quite hot after a while. So otherwise, everything's worked bloody brilliant, guys. Love it. Alrighty, guys. Big thanks for watching the video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Look, I really enjoyed doing the build on this. I did rush it, and I have said that I want to rebuild that back end because I'm not 100% happy with it. But for the most part, look, it's been great. It's worked really well. I'm very happy with it, except for that drawer. Everything's held up great. The Predator's held up great. It washes up pretty easy. It's really withstood the scratches and tight tracks and everything that we threw at it over the weekend. And except for the little bit underneath, but that's neither here nor there. But everything's worked brilliantly. I'm really happy. So, alrighty guys, thanks for watching. Yanma Bujiri Murugu. Walk a good path. Yano, goodbye.